Name the 9 watch brands within Citizen's portfolio.
Citizen.
Yes, that's
Alpina. Frederic Constant.
Yes.
Accutron.
Accutron is. They split out from Bulova.
Yeah, they're separate.
How many did we get so far?
I think like 4.
4? Okay,
5
5 more.
5.
Okay.
The Citizen?
The Citizen?
Yeah, there's like a separate brand. It's like Citizen, and then they have these. I know. Well,
I did never heard of
okay.
Citizen.
They didn't come up. It's like a brand within a brand, I guess.
Think higher end.
Well, I know like in New York, they have the office and there's the 4 brands that 5 brands, sorry, that they do everything with. But then there's more after that.
Think
4 more.
think Moon?
Oh, Bulova we said already.
No, but think higher end Moon.
Higher end Moon.
Very old brand. Like, this guy, the guy that founded it, did stuff with Abraham Louis Breguet.
The Moon?
Moon?
They're like probably the most well-known brand for the Moon phase.
Oh, Moon.
Moon
yeah.
phase. Okay.
Yeah.
Which I still don't.
Which I still don't know the answer to.
Give us a hint.
I've given you all the hints that I can give you.
I'm totally not reading it. I didn't see it.
This one's going well.
Wow, I just don't know the other. There's 4 more.
4 more. 2 of them you're not going to get, and I'll give them to you. DeMonico and...
DeMonico I was thinking of.
Yeah.
I've never heard that in my life.
DeMonico and Campanola.
Okay, that one I wasn't
The
going to
other 2 you should get. One of them is known for putting movements in a lot of different watches. And one of them... No, not Solida.
Okay.
I mean, they do own La Joux Perret, which is a Swiss movement manufacturer.
Not like Valjoux, right?
No. Come on, guys. I expected more of you.
Wait till my game.
There's 2 more in there.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well, whatever they're doing, the marketing's not good enough for the fact that 2 people in the industry can't name them.
I think they don't want people to know that these brands are part of it.
Can you just give us a letter it starts with? That would
They
help
both
me.
start with the same letter, A.
A.
There's like
You said Accutron?
Not that. You're getting close.
I know it's like a weird name. I don't know the brand at all, but it's Angel. Angel.
Eigenhor?
No. He's close.
I'm close.
Angel.
Angel.
But you don't pronounce it like that.
Oh, Angelus.
Angelus.
The
Oh.
diver watch they make, the tourbillon diver watch.
Yeah, and then the other one you should know. I wouldn't say it's 2 people, but it's someone and someone else.
Baume and Mercier.
No, that's Richemont.
I'm just naming 2 people brands.
2 people.
Arnold and Son.
Arnold and Son.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Wow.
I had no idea
Yeah,
that
Arnold
was.
and Son is part of Citizen Group.
I think multiple of those brands I've almost never heard of. The 2 brands that you said you wouldn't get, I'd never heard of in my life.
Yeah, I just kind of didn't even pay attention. DeMonico I've heard of before because that's their higher end of the portfolio, but I don't really hear much noise about them.
But Arnold and Son is high end. I reviewed one of their moon phase.
Yeah.
I definitely heard of them.
The Luna Magna with the spherical moon phase, and the moon is meteorite and the dial is meteorite.
Yeah,
So
I've seen that piece.
They're really, and so John Arnold worked closely with Abraham Louis Breguet.
I see.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
And worked they borrowed each other's patents for different. Yeah, so it's one of the older brands, and it's the weird thing about Citizen is it's a Japanese watch company, but they own a bunch of Swiss brands now, and a couple American. Though Accutron is I think probably made in Japan now, and Boliva's kind of made in Japan and Switzerland. And
I think their portfolio doesn't really get included much in the Morgan Stanley reports. I think that's why there's not a lot of talk outside of as niche as watches are. It's even more niche. A lot of outside of Citizen, Bulova, those brands.
Yeah,
Frederic Constant.
Yeah, and I think people kind of sleep on it. It's a pretty big group when you think about it. And I wanted to do something that there was no idea anyone's thinking of.
I don't think anyone would have got all of them.
Well, when they do you go to the Citizen boutique, it's actually really nice.
Yeah,
on
the
5th.
new one. Yeah,
it's so cool. We were
saw
there
you
together.
there, but I didn't know you at the time. And
Okay.
I was just I kind of recognized you, and I was like, he's really tall.
Yeah,
that was my
takeaway. But they have
He'd be perfect for the podcast.
Yeah, I was like, he's really tall. We need a tall guy on the podcast. So.
That's why my mic is so high up.
Shorter than me,
They had the 5 brands there, but not the other 4.
Yeah,
so that's why I knew immediately, and then I didn't know the others.
So those are the 9 Citizen watch brands. Did you get them all? Probably not.
There's no way.
Hi everyone. everyone. I'm Craig from Wrist Enthusiast, and we're back for another episode of Wrist Enthusiast Radio. We have Ben here.
Hey, how's it going, Craig?
Not bad. And we have Derek.
What's going on, guys?
How you doing? So today I think we're going to talk about watch collaborations, what we like about them, what we don't like about them, collaborations we like, collaborations that may have missed the mark, and then also maybe what we would like to see, some collaboration that we'd like to see. So we'll get to that soon, but first we'll do our weekly wrist check. I'll go to Derek this time to start it off. I'm eyeing the mesh bracelet.
I think I know what it is, but
and I like it.
Can you guys guess what it is from the side then?
An Omega Seamaster of some sort.
I think it's an old Bond Seamaster with a new bracelet.
Pretty much. Yeah, that's pretty much spot on.
Looks like blue bezel.
Yeah, so I'm wearing the Omega Seamaster Professional, which is before people called it the Diver 300. I think the Diver
aluminum bezel. This one.
Aluminum bezel.
Now it's ceramic, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Smaller case as well, 40 millimeter. I really like this era because this reminds me of when Pierce Brosnan was James Bond. GoldenEye, that whole series. That's when Omega first started their partnership with James Bond. This one's actually for the 40th anniversary of James Bond. So the latest James Bond watch is the 60th anniversry. This is a 20-year-old watch, but it doesn't look like it at all.
Vintage, right?
Vintage, yeah.
It really is at that point. I like it, and the dial looks like it's like a different pattern. It seems to me than
check out the dial.
Oh, up there.
He just threw his watch. If you're on Apple Music or Spotify,
it's still running.
It's
bulletproof.
It has 007 on the dial. It doesn't. Whoa. We're all causing.
Starbucks put something in the coffee.
It has a not a display case back. They weren't really doing.
No, display case backs was like more recent, like the 2016 run, and
you put it on a nice tapered mesh bracelet. Where's the mesh? Where's the mesh bracelet?
It's from Strapcode. Which now they're competitors. I just put them both on the table now. They're competitors. It's from Strapcode. What I like about it is 20 millimeter mesh bracelet. It tapers down to 16. Mm-hmm. I got the idea to put it on there because of the new 60th anniversary of James Bond. It obviously has that. I like this size better. The new Diver 300Ms are all 42.
Bigger.
This is a 40.
Yeah.
And so I've had this watch for 20 plus years, and I was like, you know what? I want to refresh the look. I didn't really love the original bracelet. It's like very, like kind of chunky on the wrist. And so I like this one. It makes it look a little bit more revitalized. And
the 007s all over the dial that's a great touch.
Yeah, it's like really subtle because this series used to have like the wave dial, the original one.
Yeah, and the new ones have a wave dial too.
Yeah, the modern interpretation of the wave dial. I like that the helium escape valve is a lot more proportional here. Yeah. It's not as conical. Definitely. What else to say about it? Lollipop seconds hand, skeleton hands, like all the classic things you would see on the SMP. And
300 meters or 200 meters?
300 meters, yeah. It's always been 300 meters.
When is it from?
It's from 20 years ago. So I think the 60th anniversry of James Bond came out in 2022. This is probably 2002 then.
Did you did you get it? Are you the only owner of that watch?
I am there's a one of one.
No. No. Like did you buy that more recently, or did you get
no,
it
this is something like 20 years ago. You know, my parents, they when Omega and James Bond had the partnership, you know, obviously our store, we were like a huge dealer for Omega, so my parents saved me one, and then I had it like, I guess you can count this as like my first watch I've ever owned, but like I never really wore it till I got out of college. Yeah. Because I always just thought it was like too precious to bring anywhere with me.
Right.
And then if I had to go to any work event that they were going to, they would give it to me. At this time, they made a limited number of, it's 5 digits, 10,000 and 007 units in the world.
Wow.
Very limited.
So limited. We talked about that, I think, last week during our pet peeves for watches. Limited of 10,000. That's
limited of 10,000 20 years ago.
I love Omega, but they're like limited of like 5 million pieces.
That's a
little. It's a lot. Yeah.
I'll go next because I thought maybe I'd be wearing the hardest hitting piece, but I'm not, and I'm gonna save the hardest hitting piece, which Ben happens to be wearing for last.
The first and last time ever, too.
So I'm wearing my Audemars Piguet Royal Oak 15400. I think I've worn it before, but not when since Derek has joined. I got this in 2018, right before the market went crazy. And so I got it at a slight discount from my AD.
Crazy.
And then they discontinued it. So it was like 17.8 at the time. I got it for like 16.2.
Wow.
And then they discontinued it, and the 15500 started at like 22 or 23. And I was like, well, it's a good thing I bought it then because I'm now priced out of, and I had to like scratch and like trade all of these different watches, put cash to it in order to get this watch, but I love it.
So you got it in 2018. That's about 6 years ago.
6 years ago, yeah.
What made you want this? Like, what made you want this watch, this dial color, this size?
Well, I wanted a blue dial, but couldn't get that, obviously.
Hard, yeah.
And, between this and I think it was like the rhodium or the gray, I just prefer, they call it silver, I call it white. I just preferred this one. I was originally thinking about getting a birth year Submariner, but 1985 was kind of like, I think, a transitional year for the sub. And so some of the like dials were a little bit weird, like spider dials and stuff like that. And I didn't love that. I'd rather have like a little patina than like all like the cracks on it.
Can I see it?
Yeah. It's a little bit dirty.
That's okay.
Those subs were strange. They had like white gold surrounds, but they had tritium lume, so they patinaed it weird.
Yeah. So, and this was what like my like kind of somewhat attainable grail was at the time. And, obviously it's a sub, I think at the, like from my birth year at the time was probably around 10 or 11,000. And this is like, it was like 17.8 if I was going to get it at retail. And so I was kind of like, let me like see if I can scratch up enough to get what I really, really want. And I managed to make it work. It's, 41 millimeters, which 41 millimeters in a Royal Oak is large.
Yeah.
The lug to lug, it's large.
Did you think the 37 was too small?
Yeah.
What reference is this again?
15400. So the 15450.
Yeah, that's a 37.
37 at the time. Not that it necessarily would have been. I was thinking a combination of like what, spending that much money at the time on a watch is like, what can I get my money back out of if I need to?
Gotcha.
And these were just trading like much more in demand than the 37, at least at the time.
It fits Ben pretty good. Like I'm looking at it from this angle, like this
if you
41 millimeter size fits him great.
Yeah, I guess this is my watch now.
Do I keep this then?
Yes, yeah. It's not even mine, so I have no complaints.
And you lost it.
I lost it. Somebody stole it.
I'm not part of this.
That's part of the last episode. Yeah, it looks good.
It's great, right?
Yeah, I know we have the same wrist size. Why did I not know?
No, I think you have the largest wrist size.
Yeah, it fits me.
Yeah.
It's a little loose right now on me. I'm 6 3/4. You're about 7, right?
7,
yeah. So I mean, like, it's a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, see, it's like it's about as big as I can get away with. I think wearing.
I think it wears fine on you.
Yeah. I have a pretty flat wrist, so it kind of
it works.
It works. But yeah, I mean, I would have gotten it was a 15202 at the time. The like basically the most.
The jumbo,
which is the most similar to the original, but big price increase, way harder to get. And I think at the time that's when they stopped making it in the other colors and only started making it with the blue dial. I think that's the case. And it's just like that one was impossible to get, so it was kind of decided.
Yeah, it's like the same today.
Yeah,
still impossible to get.
Yeah, this one's pretty impossible to. Or what is the 15 still a 15500? 15500?
I don't remember the 41 reference, but I think the 37 is 15550. So instead of 14550,
So 15500 would be the 41. And I think they're still pretty hard to get.
Yeah, they are. I would say there's definitely a wait list on their. I think in general most wait lists have cooled down a lot, but there's still going to be a wait list for any Royal Oak for sure.
Yeah, to get into that brand.
So I love it. I don't know if I'll ever sell it.
You shouldn't. It's a good watch.
No,
yeah,
you should.
Anyway, Ben. We teased this a little bit.
Teased it a little bit. It's a cool watch. This is a Moser Streamlining Perpetual Calendar. Very cool watch. It's got. I'll just hand it around because I've been wearing it. It's very cool. So I love Moser. I went to Miami with them, which was cool, and they were like, I asked them if I could get a review piece, and getting something like this, which is a very high-end watch. Yeah, I was like, yes, please. This is actually the same exact one I wore while I was there. But I love what Moser does. First of all, the Streamliner bracelet is unbelievable, but they
the month is hidden underneath.
Mm-hmm.
So that I think that's the coolest part.
It's cool. Well, that's why the brand's so cool. Is they do cool stuff like that where it's a perpetual calendar, but you would have no idea looking at the dial. And then you look at the back and you're like, oh, there's like a leap year or something, and then there's the month.
The movement's stunning.
The movement's stunning. The bracelet's stunning, and they just do a cool job. They do obviously other really cool watches.
Yeah. So my favorite thing is the month. Like they figured out that, I mean, it's so simple that it's kind of like mind-boggling. No other watch brand has really done this. That there's 12 months in a year, and there's, you know, obviously a watch has 12 hours on it. So they put a little hand on the central axis, on the centrally mounted little hand that does the months, and it just goes on the 12 hours to indicate the month. It's so simple.
Yeah. It's
Oh, it's hidden right now because it's underneath the time. Yeah, I was
You're gonna have to when we take some B-roll of that.
Yeah, separate it out.
Yeah. So you have it to May right now, actually.
Yeah, whatever it is.
It's really not fun changing perpetual calendar.
I didn't want to mess around with it because if you go too far, then that can be an issue on a lot of
you can move the hour.
Yeah,
but this is a perpetual calendar that does not display the year. It just shows leap year or not. So this one should be pretty easy to set because it's like a full calendar.
Off the top of my head. I should know the answer to that. I just don't.
Yeah. You know, because like if you have a perpetual calendar where it shows like 2024, if you advance, you know, you have to send that in. If it's like a few days, whatever. But if you advance in a few years.
That's probably why they were like, you're fine to have this.
Yeah. Because you can always just set it up again. Yeah. This wears really well on the wrist. What size is this?
This is a 42, but it certainly wears smaller because there's basically no lugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the three-handed ones, and I think that we were talking about the blue enamel, the Central Seconds micro rotor. They wear they're much slimmer and they wear really nice to the wrist.
Really nice, yes, because this is the perpetual. It's just thicker.
It's a little thicker, yeah.
The most popular watch they have right now is that blue enamel sub-seconds. The seconds on the bottom. It's like hammered enamel. It's so cool.
It's so nice. I saw
but yeah, I feel like.
Is that the same one on your phone case?
Yes, it's actually this. So I don't know where I should point it here. Point it at this camera. It's disgustingly gross, but we joked around like, oh, you get a Moser sticker you put on a Ferrari, we'll give you a free Moser. Obviously, that wasn't the case, but when I was there, which is funny. But I just put the sticker on the back because I'm a watch guy. Why would I have a watch sticker on my phone? But now it's all like disgusting. But yeah, that is the watch. It's the most popular right now, but every time they come out with a new watch,
it's 39 as opposed to 40, which the other.
Oh, okay, yeah, I didn't fully
realize the first watch under, I think, Streamliner under 40 because they use that new micro rotor movement, which is a little bit smaller.
It's so comfortable.
Yeah,
so comfortable. But yeah, that's what this is. Super cool. They have
what's the price on this?
Retail, they don't. It's discontinued. Retail was like over 50 or over 50,000. Oh yeah, it was over 50,000, and then right now they go for like 35 probably.
Wow.
On the secondary market or something. That's why I looked
for a perpetual calendar. That's really good value.
Yeah,
anything like especially from Moser, but like I mean even at the secondary pricing you're talking about, that's like yeah.
I just like the case back. It's like
it's really nice.
I took some fun photos with my new camera and it was so fun. But yeah, that's what that is.
Nice. Okay, so we're talking about watch collaborations, what we like, don't like, what we'd like to see. So what are our initial thoughts on, overarching thoughts on collaborations?
I think there's examples where collaborations work. Let's say Omega and James Bond, for example. That's a collaboration where I think it makes sense, even though people will debate, historically James Bond was wearing Rolex in the Ian Fleming books.
Invicta and Deadpool.
Right, I think that Omega James Bond makes sense for people, and that's why people accept it. And it makes sense. So that's a good example. I'm sure there's going to be others that we'll bring up.
Do we consider that a collaboration more so? Yes,
a partnership.
It's a kind of a partnership. I'm not sure. I'm just kind of thinking in my head whether. A brand licensing something is the same as two brands kind of working together on something. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
I see what you mean, but so I think that there are certain James Bond watches I guess like even mine is a good example because the 007 is like all over the watch versus just having a model that you could buy in store in the movie, like a standard Planet Ocean or Seamaster. Like this one was made in collaboration for the 40th anniversary. Yeah. So I think, you know, there's examples that this works.
Yeah. And for example, is TAG Heuer Kith any different because Kith has no involvement in the actual manufacturing of that watch. It's TAG Heuer that's doing it.
I would say it's definitely a collab, though.
You know, it is a collab. Yeah. But I'm just saying, could you consider, you know, how is that any different from James Bond, you know?
Yeah.
With the Kith collaboration, I think it makes sense because it actually makes like the collaboration with Kith, the streetwear clothing, apparel, you know, it works with Heuer. Yeah. I just think people have an issue with the price more than the design of the watch, if anything.
I like them, and I have an old Formula One chronograph that I've had. It was one of the first luxury watches that I bought. And I mean, I like the look of them, but then you can go on eBay and buy the real vintage ones for $300, $400, $500, and you know that's what, a third of the price of the Kith ones. I wonder how. I haven't heard much since the launch. Like there was a ton of hype, and I posted about it. I wrote about it during the launch, but then I haven't heard that much since. I know they were very limited in the amount. So
I think that's my biggest problem with the collaborations.
Too limited?
No, it's like when they do collab, it's the most hyped thing ever. Everybody wants one. You buy it, and then you, in my opinion, you don't hear about it at all anymore ever.
Yeah. For
a lot of the collaborations, like a lot of the Hodinkee collaborations I like, but they release them, they sell out or they don't sell out, and you never hear about them again.
Yeah.
So I just find it same thing with that. Like it's just like weird.
What do you think about blogs collaborating with brands? Do you like that?
I like it? Yeah.
There's, before I let people, I do like it to an extent because I do think, you know, the people at these blogs have a lot of knowledge about the industry. So, you know, it's not just some random company coming in that doesn't have any kind of watch industry knowledge. So they should know what their readers and what collectors want. Like that new Porsche design. I mean, it looked a lot like the original, but it's still like a very cool watch. It's expensive. So I do like the fact that watch blogs should know the industry well enough to know what can sell and what people want. But there's a lot of.
That's the thing. I think it's really cool when they do collaborations when they're not obviously trying to make money. That's why you do a collaboration, because you're trying to sell watches, but you're not doing it for the sole purpose of that. And I think a lot of the times the lines get blurred where it's like some random brand you've never heard of in your life collaborating with a blog, and you're like, there's no like reason, there's no connection, there's no nothing. It's just like, okay, I don't know. But then when they do something really cool with the Porsche design stuff, where there was all this advertising and hype and they brought back the watch, like that, I think is like what a collaboration should be.
I think there's, like, I'm going to give you specific examples of ones that I like over the years. So since you mentioned the Porsche design with Hodinkee, another Hodinkee design that I really liked was the IWC collab they did. It was like a 39 millimeter at the time, Mark 18. And they even had the chopped hour hand from like the Mark 12 to Mark 15 series. And ever since then, those hour hands on the new Pilot Mark 20s and 18s, they're all like that leaf shape. They're not like that original hour hand. So I think they did a good job with that one.
I like the Hodinkee Blancpain 50 Fathoms No Rad.
Both of them that they did was really good. Like the all gray Skin Diver, and then the No Rad version was really good. I've seen that before and it's super cool. So I think they've done a lot of cool versions. And what's good about doing these collabs is that, you know, with blogs, when you have an audience, you understand what people are asking for because people are commenting on it all the time. So finally, when you have a chance to design something, you can bring something historical that you would want, but the brand is never just going to include that in their main catalog. Yeah. And that's when I think it's pretty cool. Yeah. There's a lot of really good examples out there. And I think that it's a risk for both sides because the blog has to have a good reputation for the brand to get involved with them, first of all.
Yeah.
I think for Hodinkee, one of their first collabs was with Vacheron and Constantin. They did the Corne des Vaches in white gold or platinum with a gray dial.
That's quite the bold.
Yeah,
first
and they made
collab.
like 50 pieces. It was like really limited. That one's a really cool piece. Gray dial. You know, you'll see Hodinkee does a lot of gray tone, like monochromatic.
Yeah.
It's like the New York kind of thing. It's funny because I asked one of the guys at Hodinkee one time, like, why is like gray Hodinkee's color? And then whether this is true or not, I'm not sure. But someone at Hodinkee was telling me like, oh, it's because there's a running joke that like Ben Clymer is like half colorblind or something. So he only sees gray, and that's why it's like his favorite color or something. I like the color gray a lot. All the different shades from anthracite down to like ghost gray. So I always thought gray is a cool color. I think it's a cool thing they've been doing.
So what do you think about the recent big hyped collab was the Andrew Morgan, Christopher Ward Belcanto in red? I mean, I like the watch, but
I like the watch. I really like Andrew too.
it's just red.
It's just red. Was there any detailing on the case or the?
I think the case back had his logo on it.
Yeah, I
It
think
did?
the case back
Okay,
had a
that's
logo
good.
on it, and I think they made the jewels on the case clear instead of
What I liked that he did was he brought a whole other strap to it.
Yeah.
Which I thought like that added a whole other element instead of just like taking whatever Christopher Ward bracelet, he like kind of made it his own, did something with D-Lugs, and I really like that. I think collabs like that are very cool, especially like when it's the first.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ever done one before.
No, I don't think
I don't
so.
know off the top of my head. So let's start with the
Yeah.
Belcanto.
Yeah,
He's
that's
cool. It was just red. You are
Yeah.
right. You're not wrong.
I mean, I don't know Andrew, and I like the watch.
Yeah.
it was just red.
He sent it to me like he sent it to you, I think. And I was like, I knew what it was before because I think the teaser, I just figured it out. It was going to be a red
I got
Belcanto.
like a PR email a few days before,
Yeah.
being like, this is coming.
A red Belcanto. But yeah, I hope he did well. How many did he sell? Do you guys know?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
We'll put it up on the screen. How many units, everything.
Someone told me. I don't know if it was one of you. It's 600 of them.
I'm not sure. I definitely
That's
didn't come
crazy.
from me because
Someone
Don't know,
told
man.
me. I don't think it was one of you guys. I think I was at a watch event, and someone told me. Oh, I know who told me. Not either of you. That it was. They were told it was 600.
wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Good for
Yeah.
him.
No, the cool thing about Andrew Morgan's collaboration with Christopher Ward, so I didn't really know much about Christopher Ward until Ben brought it on the show. So that was my first time ever seeing it. And then shortly after, Andrew Morgan had it. Obviously, we all know Andrew Morgan when he was doing his work at Watchfinder as a talking hand. So I've always been a huge fan of what he's been doing. I'm proud of him for what his collab was really well done. And, you know, I wish him the best. And I saw him at, what's it called? During Watches and Wonders. That was the first time I met him. We were at Deluxe. So I was there earlier. I was talking to Deluxe. And then Andrew Morgan showed up. I just said hi real quick. And now I know why they were meeting there. It's because they were using the strap for the new watch. So that's really cool. A little behind the scenes.
He's got the most buttery voice I've ever heard ever. I don't, it's incredible. And he doesn't, it's in person so interesting. I feel like he doesn't sound as much like his, like, I feel like you listen to his voice and you just want to have it playing in the background of your entire life.
Now breathe deeply.
Yeah, I can't do it.
So I participated in Teddy Baldessar's end of the year, like what watch you wore most of. Like,
Yeah.
From a lot of different influencers, and he was like directly after me, and I was like, "Damn it!" His like soothing voice is like they'll hear me, and then they hear Andrew Morgan directly after me. I'm like,
Here's my behind the scenes of the end of the year Teddy video. So I did one too, and I knew that I was gonna like it's gonna be a video with a bunch of people. So I was like, I gotta come out with a little more energy because otherwise the whole video is gonna feel like this.
Yeah.
And I think his editors are smart enough to know like to put different voice inflections on different parts. So like you can see like higher energy. Like who did he end with? That guy that everyone no, that guy that he like always talks watches. Oh my god, like the OG.
Oh, the
OG
Urban
YouTuber.
Gentry.
Not Urban. No,
Watchinish?
no, not Washinish.
Not Adrian.
He always goes Rolex, Rolex.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. I don't really know his name though. He's like an older guy, right?
Yeah, damn. That's so sad that I don't remember his name because he was so big. You know,
OG Watch YouTube.
OG Watch YouTube. We're gonna put it up on screen. I'm sorry if I didn't mention your name because there's so many new creators these days that it's kind of hard. But he was one of the OGs. I will say that.
Yeah. Anyway, OG. I thought you were saying Urban Gentry.
He's another one. Like
He moved to
Urban
New York.
Gentry. I thought he was in Philly. Now he's in New York. I thought he was like always in New York for some reason.
I saw him at I used to watch him when I first started getting the watches, like 2019, and I saw him at a Grand Seiko event like really not long ago at all, like 2 months ago.
Like
and
you don't hear about him that much, like at watch events and stuff.
You don't. He told me he's like not plugged into it at all. I talked to him for like an hour, and
good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Yeah, he's like I don't want to be involved. I just want to like get content. Sample stuff and make content. But that's not his main gig. I don't know what his actual gig is, but that was the other thing too.
Yeah, him and Mark from Long Island Watch.
Yeah,
Mark is the OG too.
Very OG.
Shout out to Mark because I'm in Queens, he's in Long Island, so we're both in New York here. We're on the island together.
Yeah. I was in Brooklyn, which is technically on the island.
Yeah, I guess I
used
say
to be, not anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, watch collaborations. What other collaborations? We have
to talk about Swatch and Omega.
Okay. Let's go for it.
So they're the kind of the opposite of what you were talking about, Ben, where you hear about it and then you never hear about it again. There's like hype. This is just like one long drawn out thing. And
constant, yeah.
And like I like that they're not like at this point they're not rare. You can get one if you want it, but it's kind of, to me, it seems like they're trying to kind of recreate the hype. They tried with the Blancpain one, and I don't think that really worked for them.
I have a hot take about it.
Okay,
go for it.
So most of the watch industry and collectors like denounce it, right? They're like, that's not a good watch. But everybody's like, don't have one. I think it was one of the most important watches for the watch industry the last 20 years. That's my hot take.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
I don't think that's wrong either. I think it created such a strong moment. Like,
even though it's not a great watch.
Yeah.
I have so many friends, people that follow me that got into it. They bought a MoonSwatch, whether because any creator made it or whatever. And now they've collected, they have a Rolex, they have an Omega. Like they just went crazy because they bought that. And I think that is so important and undeniably like, it's just great. I don't know.
First of all, I think like almost every collector has one. Maybe not every, but a lot.
I don't currently.
What?
I don't currently.
But everyone has a MoonSwatch story. Even if you don't own one, you have a story of waiting in line or trying or I saw the line. Everyone has a story about it, which is funny.
When it first was launched, I wanted to review a piece. And I was still working as a lawyer at the time. And my office was on 3rd Avenue in the 50s. And I lived on the west side, and I could manage to like go to like 3 different Swatch stores like on the way home.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can like go like without making it too much of an inconvenience. It wasn't super convenient, but there was one in Grand Central. There's one on 5th Avenue and one on Times Square.
Yeah.
And so I would go from like for like a week straight. I'd go from one to the next, and they'd be like, "No, like we don't have any. Like we get shipments in twice a week." And I was like, "Oh, when do you get them in?" They're like, "Oh, we don't know." I was like, "Can you let me know?" And they didn't really care because they're not watch people. They don't care who they're selling it to. These are just people that were working retail and got overwhelmed by crazy watch people wanting this watch and probably despised all of us. And the final time I did it, I go to this 5th Avenue store and I was like, "Oh, do you have any MoonSwatches?" And the guy says to me, "Oh, you're 5 minutes too late. We just sold our last one." And I was like, "Why would you tell me that?"
Yeah.
And I ended up buying a Mars on StockX and paying way too much for it just so I could review it at the time. But that's my MoonSwatch story. But I see them everywhere. I see so many people just on the street wearing MoonSwatches.
I'll give you some BTS on the MoonSwatch. So there's early theories, like before the MoonSwatch was just readily available for sale. Mm-hmm. There were early theories that this MoonSwatch, okay, I actually did a whole video on this because I started to study and like dive deep, but like why did the MoonSwatch just appear out of nowhere this year? Like what was the important part of that? So what I've been researching is that at the time, okay, so everyone knows Swatch Group is named Swatch Group because of Swatch. But why Swatch? Out of all the other brands in our portfolio, Omega, Breguet, people are like, why don't you call it Breguet Group, right? Well, back in the quartz crisis, Swatch was the brand to take and like help a lot of these brands survive because a lot of them that were not doing quartz, think of like Breguet, Blancpain, like these brands were struggling hard. Swatch Group, Swatch the watch came in. Mr. Hayek revitalize a lot of these brands by using Swatch to purchase all these other brands. So that's why they're like, hey, this is a really inexpensive plastic disposable watch, but it's so significant to our industry, just like it is now years later.
And so they're doing the opposite now?
So it's now like Swatch is trying to help their other brands, because the last couple of years, whatever, the industry has been good and bad, like as normal. But I think what had happened is that Swatch invented this new bioceramic material, but they wanted a way to promote it in like a big way. And if they just did it by themselves, like Swatch's new bioceramic, it would have just been like, cool. Like that's what it would have been. So now it was time for the reverse. It's time now that Swatch saved Omega.
Is plastic.
It's a form of castor oil plus some other proprietary. So their version is like, because Swatch saved Omega, and now it's Omega's turn to give the helping hand, help them pull them up. So early concepts of the MoonSwatch was that it's supposed to be given to you for free. And the way you would get it is that, let's say I have my Omega Speedmaster, I got to send it in for service. I would send it into service, and Swatch would send me a MoonSwatch as a loaner watch until I got mine back. That was the initial concept of the MoonSwatch before they sold it for sale. There's interviews of Mr. Hike talking about it. Originally, we were thinking of it as a loaner watch, and that's where it came from first.
Didn't know that. That's awesome.
Then, obviously, like everything in watches, there's the it's for money, right? Like there's a way bigger potential if we just sold these for retail. So that's what they did. They can make 1 million MoonSwatches. They can sell 1 million, and it'll still continue to, do well. I think we're at the point where everyone is just like tired of seeing the MoonSwatch. I think if they actually discontinued it now after the Snoopies, it would make it even more valuable now, because it's too available now. It's like drawn out too long now.
Yeah. So the Snoopies, I think if they made them a little bit, the other ones a little bit rarer, the Snoopies would have had a bigger moment. They did have a big moment, but it like lasted a few days, and now you can get them. And then they released these other 3, the one with the kind of like aventurine looking dial and stuff like that. And there's so many of them. It's kind of like they tried to do something different with the Blancpain, and that didn't work. So they're like, okay, back to the MoonSwatch.
Yeah, I think we're at the tail end of the MoonSwatch's like lifespan, where that strategy can keep working. I think they should just discontinue it and just like
be done.
Yeah, and be done with it, and then try to do something else in like 5-10 years. That would make it more hype.
Like an Omega Seamaster, and
I think they could, but I feel like at this point,
they have a diver.
Yeah, they have a diver, and
but they would have sold a lot more Seamasters than Blancpains, I think.
Yeah, I think it was just significant for Blancpain because they had a giant anniversary, last year.
And then they were the brand that has never done a quartz watch. Yeah. That's why they put the System 51 inside, because Blancpain's, I think, like the only major brand of those not a quartz watch.
Yeah, but System 51 is also automatic, too.
I don't think it has one either.
System 51 is also automatic.
As well. That's why. Yeah. That's the point.
The Type 20. That was my guess. If they were going to do another one, what would be next?
I don't know. I don't think Swatch needs to do another one for a long time. And they have other collaborations with like Dragon Ball Z and all this other stuff already that they can just keep licensing, and they could do a Deadpool one. Maybe they have one out while we're talking. That might be huge. Yeah. Take it from Invicta.
Wanted to go back to the point about it being a service watch. I had no idea.
Had some cool service.
Well, they did, but I had no idea about the MoonSwatch. Like that's like the biggest watch in a long time. I didn't know it was supposed to just be like you get it for service. People have been stealing that.
Yeah, that's why it was like an original concept. And I think that's why it never went to market, is because there's too many logistical like challenges. Like for example, okay, let's say you send me your watch. I have it at the service center. I ship you this one. In order for you to get your watch back, you have to ship me this watch back. Now I have to pay for shipping both ways. It's like, I think the idea was there, and it was like, yeah, that's a cool idea. And then maybe someone on the boardroom was like, why don't we just sell it? We're like, what a great idea.
That's so cool. But I do agree with you that I think it'll be gone eventually. There were rumors actually last September that it was like they were going to be done with it. And then they brought out the Snoopy ones. I've seen so many of them now that I'm like desensitized to it all.
Yeah. I remember, Ben, you were one of the first to get the new white Snoopy.
I stayed the day of. Yeah. Well, I did it the original.
Right to me. He was like, I was like, I'm going to go early. He's like, I'm not. And then I didn't go. And then he gets one. I'm like, what the hell, man?
Yeah. Well, the story. So the original launch, I went to Grand Central and got there at 4 a.m. and didn't get one. I was so mad that I walked over the Tornell on 42nd Street and bought a Hamilton. No jokes. I was like, I don't have it anymore, but I was like, I did not get here at 4 a.m. to not buy a watch. So I just went and bought
the salesperson at Tourneau is probably like, yeah, you deserve a watch.
And you know what's crazy? The salesperson at Tourneau that day, weird story. I had gone to Grand Central the night before to see if there were,
was he there?
Times Square, and see if there was a guy. There was a guy first in line. There were like 3 people, and I was talking to him for a little bit, and he might be listening to this. I don't know because he DMs me sometimes. No, I could have if I got there the night before at Times Square. So I just went the night before to see because I lived like 2 blocks away. Yeah. And I just wanted to see, and I was talking to him for a little bit, and I made kind of friends with him. And then I show up at the Tourneau the next day in the morning, and he's the guy that sold me the watch. Oh. How weird is that? He was wearing, so I got to see it, which was cool at least. I got to handle it. But I was like, that is the most random thing ever. And then the Snoopy, I waited at the World Trade Center store, and they told me while I was in line, they're like, you're the last person to get one. I'm like, unbelievable. This is great content. I was making a YouTube video. I'm like, this is awesome. I get to the front, and they're like, you're the last person to not get one.
The first person to not get one.
Sorry, the first, whatever. Yeah, basically, like, the guy before you was the last person. You don't get one. I'm like, are you kidding me? So then I call somebody I knew that used to work at, or that works at a different Swatch store. I'm like,
my God,
this guy's a Swatch.
This story.
Well, I used to. The joke people hate that I used to do this, but I used to flip them in order to continue doing this to make money. But it was
he is responsible for all of the bad stuff with the Swatch.
I'm sure I'm responsible for a lot of it. I used to wait there almost every day because people were like, I live in Wisconsin. They're not online, which is ridiculous in my opinion. And they were like, I have to drive 2 hours to the Swatch store, which is 4 hours of driving. And I don't even know if I'm getting it. I'd rather spend $50 extra to get it from you.
What's the most that you've ever gotten for? Did you get like one of the blue ones and sell? They were like at $2,000.
I sold a blue one. I got one time. I was the first in line. They were like, they got like one every. They just made it super limited. I don't know why, but I sold one for like $800 or something. Okay. But I needed it, which was good for me. But anyway, so back to the point. I go online. I'm like, I don't want to go to Times Square. I don't want to go Grand Central. The guy goes, we opened a Soho store like 2 days before. So I went to the Soho store to get the Snoopy, and they just had them. They were like, yeah, nobody knew about the store.
They literally opened these stores just to sell MoonSwatches, really.
100%.
That's why I think even though we say they should stop, I think they're going to continue because there's such a strong track record. Even right now when people are not talking about it as much, you got to think there's a lot of like casual watch buyers that say, hey, I heard about that MoonSwatch. Maybe we can try to buy it now. And so they're going to try. And I think that's why they're just like milking it until it's pretty much dead.
I think also, the market's not doing that well, but people are kind of like, oh, they walk into the Swatch store and they're like, oh, I saw that new MoonSwatch they just released, like with the Aventurine looking dial. Let me buy that because it's, $250 or $300, whatever that one is. I think that one might be a little bit more. Instead of like spending $5,000 on a watch. So you scratch that itch by buying like a $250 watch, but you're not like going out of pocket a ton.
Now that I think about it, they might not discontinue for the point that you were saying. And also like Swatch is a public company and they sold like 1 million of those.
Yeah.
That's a lot of profit.
If they sell 500,000,
that's crazy.
Of watches
that they would get rid of.
If at any point they're gonna start selling them online.
Yeah, I think I also have a MoonSwatch and Blancpain Swatch story. I'm not gonna get into it because I feel like it's not interesting at all. But it's like very similar. You had to get in line, do this, that, and eventually get one, and you get that little hit of dopamine because you finally got one, and then
like a week later you're like, okay,
and then hours later you're like, it's all right.
Yeah, I didn't like the Blancpain one.
Yeah, I like for all of them.
I never wear it. Yeah. That was a really impulse purchase because I went in and they had like 2, and I was like, okay, buy one. Okay, so before we get into what collaborations we'd like to see, I want to talk about one more kind of collaboration.
Go for it.
The Seconde.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He does a lot of collaborations. I don't even. Is he what?
I think he's a designer.
He's a designer.
Yeah.
Okay, and he does a lot of collaborations with all different types of brands. Some that I've never heard of. Some like a lot of micro brands and other stuff. I think a lot of them are pretty cool. But he seemed to make a whole business out of kind of doing collaborations,
making the hands and stuff. Yeah.
Is it just the hands? I don't think it's.
Oh, you're talking about a specific one. Yeah, there's other stuff. You probably know more than me.
He did Spinnaker, like the 50 Phantoms. That was like a really funny one last year. He's done a lot of great designs. I think it's well needed in the industry. Since we're talking about collaborations, good and bad, this is not necessarily a ding on him or his designs, but the one he did with Maen, the Manhattan one.
Project.
When they're talking about the Manhattan project, that one obviously rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, especially Asian people.
Reel or something.
Yeah, I'm getting one. To be honest, like he was like, "Do you want to review it?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I just literally 2 days before watched the movie, so I'm like, sick. I'll talk about it." And then I made the video, posted it, and then I got a DM, and I was like, "This person's kind of right."
Yeah,
like I see why it could totally rub people the wrong way, and I didn't
think about it.
Yeah, because you just don't think about it. And
I think like like if you use any other historical like war kind of weapons or things that were used, everyone would be opposed to. I'm not even going to name them because it's so messed up, but like I think that's how people are taking it. It's like, yo, like I'm from this country, my grandparents were here, like this. So I understand, like obviously the Oppenheimer film was a huge success, and I'm sure all of us are Christopher Nolan fans, so I was excited to see it. Obviously they didn't show that movie in Japan because that would be really insensitive, like stuff like that. I also
think like a lot of the Oppenheimer movie was about like Oppenheimer, like how he like dealt with like what like I don't want to get so spoilers, not, I mean, how much spoilers can you we all know
well it's history.
No, that's what I'm saying. So it's like saying spoilers for Titanic, right? Titanic's not, guys. But spoiler kind of, there's like scenes where he's like seeing like the charred like burning bodies of like the people that were affected by the atomic bomb. So I think like from a historical standpoint, then like I think they ended up giving it to charity, or the profit to charity. I don't know if they were initially going to do that.
Oh, I have no idea.
They donated a portion to charity, and second, I think he said he had some royalties on that watch. He would donate all of his royalties to like a foundation or charity, which I think is a good move. I think a lot of people were like, they felt a little bit like restored trust in both brands. I think the idea itself is not like.
Well, I think it's different, right? Like if you want like a watch that was like a Hamilton that was like worn, like a recreation of something worn by like Allied troops during World War II, I don't think anyone like in Japan's going to be offended by that. I think it's different when you're talking about literally like the most devastating bomb that was ever dropped anywhere and caused, like a lot of death. And I don't want to get into an argument whether it was like a necessary thing to do or not.
Oh, we definitely shouldn't do.
I'm gonna leave that to the other pundits, because we're a watch group. We're a watch podcast. But I think that's a lot different than someone's like, oh, I want to watch like that the troops were wearing or something like that. I think that's very.
There was another watch collaboration. I forgot the name, and if I find it, I'm gonna put it up on here. But it was one that was like, we named this dial after the napalm that like rained over Vietnam, and it was like an orange dial. And obviously, explaining it already is like you guys were like, what the fuck? That's exactly how people reacted. They're like, what the hell? Like, why would any company design this and do that? And I think that a lot of time, it's like, I don't know, someone has to fact check, double check, like think before posting certain.
I had no idea that it was that much backlash for what you were saying. Like when they were like, hey, do you want to do some post about this? Like in my entire head, I was just like, that was one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in my life. It was like championing the movie and like the great historical account and Christopher Nolan for me, as opposed to obviously championing that. But like, I totally get why.
Yeah.
I just didn't realize that it was so much backlash. They were donating profits. So I had no idea until right now.
Yeah. So I think ultimately every brand that has made some kind of controversial collab like that has tried to do in some way right the wrong and like win back the trust of people. And I think that's the right thing to do. We can't stop that. It's already been made, and you can't unhurt people's feelings, but you can try to like win back the trust and create something better in the future. And like this is just a really side tangent, but I've actually been to Hiroshima in Japan. I've actually went to their museum, and it's so crazy to be in the city because it's so quiet all over the place. You feel like something happened, and then you just feel like the whole culture of Japan, like people are so nice and friendly. Being in the museum was like, it was haunting. It's exactly like the Oppenheimer movie showed you, like when Oppenheimer was having those visions. Literally, that's like what the museum feels like. And that's why I think, aside from just being Asian, but like actually going to Japan and stuff, I can relate a lot more. And that's why I was like, I totally understand. If someone had asked me for my opinion before they launched it, I would have told them, don't make this watch because it's going to rub people the wrong way. And I think, as people in the industry, us three, we just have to, continue being empathetic to certain things like this. And
not to,
we'll move forward.
Not to like criticize them anymore, because I don't want it to be like a pile on either of them. But you would think they would have like checked it.
I think that's why people are so mad. It's like
Japanese
feels so like obvious.
I'm like, what do you think about this?
Yeah,
because the movie's a historical account.
Yeah,
and creating a watch is profiting off of not only the popularity of the movie, but
that was my initial thoughts about it too, because I was like, movie just came out, you're making a watch for the movie. It, to me, I wasn't even thinking about that. Obviously, I probably should have thought about that, but my thought was like, you're making an Oppenheimer watch. It's clearly for the movie, but it's not an official. I was like, this is a little weird that it's not an official collaboration. I'm like, is this even allowed? And I was told, it's completely fine. I'm like, okay. Like that was my initial thought. I'm like,
they don't like the movie doesn't own the Manhattan Project.
No, it was just like a weird time. Like it would have been way cooler if it was an official collaboration. I would have been like, still. It's like Nolan. They made the Murph watch, which I almost wore today. My Murph Hamilton, but like obviously.
That was a cool watch.
That's a cool watch, and it's also like
but I think they took too long to make the
smaller one.
It took like 10 years. I was like, wait, they're still making this watch? They should have launched it in the beginning.
It's like my favorite.
But that watch is awesome.
Catalog. The 38, which is the one I have, is just perfect size.
Yeah.
So I think we should get into collaborations we maybe would like to see. Is there anything that comes to mind?
Well, I will say that, so there are collaborations that have also been done that I've been a fan of. Another one recently, but it's just like to kind of go along with Dune. Remember Dune had the
Hamilton?
The Hamilton. That was such a cool watch. Like, I always watch like what's it called, YouTube channels talking about movie reviews and stuff, and these guys I always watch finally are talking about watches, and they're talking about the Hamilton watch, and I was like, this is so cool to like have our industry tie in with something that's like more widespread popular
Can I have
culture.
a take about that?
Go for it.
I didn't like it. Well, the reason no. I think the reason I didn't like it, I did a newsletter about I didn't like it, which is probably silly, but I was like, they're making a watch for the movie, which I totally like when brands do that, but it wasn't like remotely close to the one they wore in the movie, looks wise.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you're like, the Interstellar one's obviously great, but that's obviously more wearable. Yeah. But if you're going to make a watch for the movie, which I've seen, why wouldn't you make the exact one that they had proportions wise? It just felt like they were like, well, we have this design, we'll just make it Dunified. That's why I didn't like it. Literally, yeah. That's why I love the movies though. But
that makes sense. I didn't really pay too much attention. I just like heard the headline and saw the design real quick, and I was like, that's cool. Like that's how I felt about it.
It was cool though. Yeah.
But like Hamilton has done like Men in Black and stuff, and that one I don't know, was Men in Black that big like decades ago? That
it
like
was
as big as Dune? Like
I don't know.
I find the Dune movies incredibly boring, and I'm a huge sci-fi guy. I'm sorry. Hot take. Bilal, I'm sorry.
It's funny. I hadn't watched Dune 2. It came out. My friend's like, it's the best movie ever.
And I'm tried to watch Dune 2 like 3 times, like on the plane and stuff, and fell asleep.
But you gotta watch it in IMAX on a big screen. It's totally
I watched
worth
it at home, and people were like, Dune 1's not that good, but it's worth it to watch Dune 2. So I watched Dune 1. I'm like, I love the movie, but I'm not usually a sci-fi guy, so it's complete opposite, which is weird. Yeah.
Oh man, weird. I love sci-fi. There's other movies I can mention, but to stay on task.
Well, I have a watch collab.
Go for it.
We're gonna see this. Like I'm sure of it. The new F1 movie with Brad Pitt.
The IWC.
TAG Heuer.
Oh, it's gonna be an IWC.
Oh no! Oh, because the helmet he has an IWC. It literally says IW, but it might be TAG Heuer.
Well, whatever the collab is, it's gonna happen.
That's for sure.
And really cool. Sorry, I'm a big F1 guy now over the last 3 months since I started watching. But the way they're doing that movie is so cool. So they have Instagram accounts and social media accounts that are essentially being Brad Pitt's team and like on the team that he's racing on. And they every single race weekend for F1, they're posting fake results. It's really cool.
Oh, interesting.
And then also he's at every race. And then they're I'm thinking every race, but in the back, you'll see like Max Verstappen, like the biggest driver right now. In the back, you'll see Brad Pitt filming his interview, just like it would be another driver filming their interview.
Oh,
and they're
smart.
integrating it with they're doing such a cool job. So I hope the movie's good, but that will be
It's like, hey, you know how we could save some money? Why don't we just go to the F1 and then just film our movie interviews there?
Yeah.
You know?
It's so cool.
The people, all the extras are already there. They're real people now.
Yeah, that'd be a big miss if TAG Heuer doesn't get the.
I really thought it was IWC because
I think
IWC posted a picture and it's Brad Pitt wearing the helmet and it literally says IWC on the helmet.
You're so right. I didn't
If
think
it's
about
TAG
that.
Heuer,
But
it'd be like, what the hell?
Well, I think
TAG Heuer the new sponsor of F1 after.
it's not official,
Okay.
but that's the big rumor. That's what.
So
it is.
what are our speculation? Why did Rolex stop with F1?
I'm shocked. Like if you watch any F1 race, it's Rolex everywhere.
Yeah.
And you don't even know Rolex is there. It's so there. It's like every
It's in the clocks, it's in everything.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
official
Wild.
timekeeper, all this stuff.
Yeah, so I don't know if they were like a sour relationship. I also see that the other brands are getting much more, like Richard Mille is getting much more recognition from their partnership with a couple of the
drivers individually. Yeah.
And the teams as well with McLaren and Ferrari. That might be another. Than Rolex is getting with their 150 million.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like. And Tudor's doing really well with their Red Bull partnerships. Really cool.
Yeah.
Moser, obviously TAG Heuer, IWC.
Yeah, I feel like other brands are starting to step up and probably offer a lot more money than Rolex is willing to pay, maybe. And Rolex is just kind of like, we're not going to pay that. We don't have to pay that.
I don't think they need it. That's what it is. Yeah.
I mean, like, even like every airport you go to, all of those clocks
It's either
are Rolex.
or it's like Omega Constellations at a bunch of airports. I did mention this in another podcast we did, but a collab I do want to see with the Olympics now. You know, as I told you, it's the first year for breakdancing or breaking. Yes. I want to see some of the people I know get sponsored by like huge watch brands, and maybe it could be Ren.
That's not a huge watch brand.
But there's like one of my friends, he's from Canada. He's representing all of Canada for breaking.
Very cool.
Named Phil Wizard. And I was like, man, he would be a cool ambassador for like Omega or something. That would be so sick. Like you want to show off their new titanium lightweight watch, have him doing like air flares wearing the watch and like
G-forces and stuff. I could totally see RM doing that because I feel like I saw them doing Tour de France. You know, like I could totally see them doing breaking because all the G-forces when they're spinning and everything.
Like not scratching the watch and everything. There's some moments they can create out of that.
I had I guess amateur college diver reach out to me. Mm-hmm. And he's like, he's on the U.S. team, and asked me if I would gift him a Ren in exchange for content. And it was a few weeks before the Olympic trials, and I said, "Well, will you be, competing at the Olympics?" And he said, "Well, I will be at the trials. I don't know if I'll make the team yet." So I said to him, I said, "Look, we don't know. We haven't received the watches yet. Let's wait and see how you do at the trials." And I don't think he made the team. So.
Could be cool. Yeah, I think
been cool because we're a dive watch. So
be a diving team. That's another good collaboration. They should be doing all these like Olympic athletes.
Yeah.
What other kind of collabs do we want to see in the future?
I think more of like two watch brands doing stuff together. We see MV&F and Moser do a lot of stuff together. The Panda
thing was so cool. I only watch
like Sylvain Pinot and does stuff with other people. You sometimes see a lot of that stuff for only watch. Yeah, but it'd be kind of cool to see more of that be mainstream and not necessarily from the super high end like Moser and MB&F collab. Is going to be too expensive for most people.
I think there's a lot of watch collaborations that happen every year that we just don't talk about and that people don't really pay attention. And so I think there's like two methods when it comes to collaboration. One, it's like for the watch industry or like the collectors. And one is just, this is just a good IP for me to slap on my brand. Like the Invicta Deadpool is an example of, let me just slap it on my...
We're going to let that one die. Every episode, we're going to try and sneak in the Invicta Deadpool.
But it's like, let me just slap the Deadpool IP. I mean, if I was the Marvel Studios, I'd be like, yeah, I'll license it because you're going to put it on a watch. You pay me, like we make money, whatever. I would like to see, you know, like I don't think this would happen, but an AP Deadpool watch would be pretty hot. Yeah, like I think it would be.
They could totally do that.
Yeah, like Spider-Man's the biggest hero within, you know, Marvel Studios. So I think Deadpool's already has a huge cultural phenomenon too.
So interestingly, I had it's very preliminary discussion. So if you watch the Teddy and Kevin O'Leary video where they ranked the watch brands, Ren came in second and Trafford came in first, and they're out of Texas. So the Trafford guy reached out to me and we started chatting, and I said to him, you know, it'd be cool if we put we made a dial, like an hour dial color, and put it in your watch and did a collaboration that way. He said, could be interesting, but we haven't went beyond that. So doing stuff like that, I think, would be cool as well for smaller brands.
Yeah.
Kind of
I would like on that point too, more creators doing collabs. Not just because I'm a creator, but I do think it's very cool. You see celebrities doing it and you see blogs doing it, but I think it's very cool for somebody like any of us three to collaborate with a brand and do something with your audience. I think and putting your own spice on a watch you already love.
I've had ideas about doing not my own watches, not like what you're doing with Ren, but like having an idea like if this brand made this watch, that'll be really cool. And I would be like, I have like very mixed opinions about it if I were to do it myself. I'm just, for the record, I don't have anything planned right now, but it's just some thoughts I would think over the years. No specific watch in mind, but it's like, okay, if I were to do a collab with the brand and do something cool, I don't know if I would want to put like Minuteman on it. Yeah. I don't know, because I want it to feel kind of timeless, and I don't, you know, like some people like or don't like when there's a specific mention of what the collab is, unless it's like huge. Like some people like and some people don't like the Hodinkee tag on the watches. Or I think if you do it, people like it when it's more subtle. It's on the case back. It's not like too on the dial or anything.
Like we just put the logo of Wrist Enthusiast.
Yeah, that's a nice subtle way to do it too.
But we were thinking about, now you guys in the comments can let us know what you think about this, about doing 100 Ren watches and having Ben design
one,
50 of them, and having Derek kind of design 50 of them, and, you know, within reason. Yeah. not a completely new watch. And then
I'm on a perpetual calendar with a moon.
Go to Moser for that one. And seeing which one people like more and who sells them the quickest. So if you like that idea, and we can kind of track the whole entire process here.
That could be a cool part of the pod.
That would be fun.
That'd be a cool part of the pod.
So let us know what you think of that in the comments, and maybe we'll get that going because, you know.
Yeah. To your point, though, on the different stamps and stuff like that, I kind of, not that it's my branding, but I love when it's a collaboration. It's very obvious who the collab is between.
Yeah.
On the dial. So like, I don't know if that's because like I've been so into these like vintage watches with like Tiffany stamps and all that nonsense, but or Oman symbols and stuff.
We never talked about Tiffany.
Yeah, that's the biggest collab.
There's so many big collabs we can still talk about.
Yeah, we can do a whole other episode.
Yeah,
we could do a part 2.
Yeah.
But I like it. Like when I if I bought a Hodinkee one, which I have in the past, like I like when it has it on the dial.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Tiffany real quick.
Yeah,
because that's a huge one. You can't miss talking about that. What do you guys think? Tiffany stamped Pateks.
I mean,
and watches in general.
I'm gonna have a kind of interesting hot take on this. They're fine.
How about I guess your hot take? Because based
on hot take, and I'll tell you.
Because on previous conversations, I think that to you, you don't think it's worth the money because you mentioned last time if the text is like flipped around, you don't really care, and I'm sure having the Tiffany Co stamp won't matter that much to you too.
To me, it's not that much of a collaboration. It just stamped Tiffany and sold at a Tiffany store, but. The only one, or the one that's really an actual collaboration, is the one with the Tiffany blue dial, like the 5711, and that's outrageously priced. I'm not trying to pretend it's not outrageously priced, but that to me is the most legitimate of the collaborations, to call it even a collaboration. The other one is basically just any old Patek Philippe that they decide to stamp Tiffany on. There's literally no other difference between it besides the fact that you have to buy it from your Tiffany store, not from Patek won't sell it to you. So that's my hot take, is that the only true Tiffany collab is the Tiffany blue 5711. I guess also the perpetual calendar that Bernard Frederick
Bernard. Bernard has it.
Yeah, Bernard's the father. Bernard Arnault.
The one of one.
That's the one of one. So that I don't know if that counts as a collab because it's just his personal
101.
watch. I wonder what that would get at market.
Yeah.
Something insane.
I actually like the Tiffany stamped watches in general, not just like the Pateks, but you'll see Cartiers and all that stuff over the years. I think it's cool. It's a part of history anyways. I think that maybe the more modern versions are the ones that are getting kind of like blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
But like if you go looking for like a vintage Patek Tiffany stamped Cartier or Patek Philippe from like decades ago, I think those are really cool to find because you're like, whoa, this is something that that shouldn't happen anymore. But the fact that they're like continuously doing it is like pushing,
There's some like Bulova, vintage women's Bulovas that has like Dior stamping on it and some cool stuff. Yeah.
I like I don't really care too much about Tiffany stamps. That's my take. I think
weird because
as somebody that said that loves vintage,
yeah,
I don't care. I care more like if it's a really good condition watch. If it's Tiffany stamp, it's like okay, it might be worth a couple of thousand more or whatever. But like I don't like actively search it out. What I do like actually seeing are there's watches like Rolexes signed with Cartier, which is really cool. Those I think are way cooler than Tiffany stamp.
Too.
Yeah, those military. Yeah.
Is there Pepsi's? No, there's no Pepsi stamp.
No, there's Domino's obviously, which is cool. I like stuff like that, which is funky. But I saw this one. It's a Rolex. I think it was a date or a Datejust with a full gold Jubilee bracelet. Rolex stamped Cartier on the bottom in cursive, like so cool.
Yeah,
like that is sick. But Tiffany, like I think it's just blown up so much now. I just don't.
Yeah, well, whatever we think about it, let us know what you guys think in the comments. Regardless of what we think, it does traditionally perform well when it gets to market. So
yeah, it does.
No matter what we say, it's still going to be hyped.
What do you think of? Let us know what you think of collaborations in general. Which ones you like? Which ones don't you like?
If we missed any, let us know as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure we did.
Should we close out with a game now?
Yeah, I think so.
Name me the 11 watch brands in Richemont's portfolio.
Jaeger LeCoultre.
Okay, that's one.
Cartier. IWC.
Longa.
Panerai.
Val Mercier.
Val Mercier. You guys are crushing it.
Oh my god.
This is where I get lost.
Yeah, now we're
Vacheron.
Oh yeah,
Vacheron. You have like 4 more or 5 more.
Van Cleef.
Van Cleef is one.
Panerai. No,
Panerai you mentioned.
No, we didn't.
I said.
You did mention it.
There's another brand that makes like. I saw this graphic. It's like all the Richemont brands, and it's everyone makes a gold dress watch, and they all look almost exactly the same. But it's one of those. I just forget which one it is.
How many are left?
I think you have 2 or 3. I think you have 3.
Are they big brands?
Yeah, you definitely would know them. I mean, one of them we mentioned them on the show already today.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If I can give you guys a hint, but you guys should know it. These are all major watch brands.
Yeah. Montblanc?
Montblanc is one. Yeah, good. So you have 2 more.
Big brands.
One of them also does jewelry. Another one that does jewelry. They made a yellow gold watch this year that was an integrated bracelet gold watch. It has gadroons.
Oh, Piaget.
Gadroons. And there's one left. We talked about this off camera before about this brand. It's also like a high-end high luxury watch brand.
Luxury. Off camera. What were we
doing?
Well,
we only just mentioned it, yeah. But they do also do collaborations with Ferrari and cars.
No. GP though.
No, not GP.
Yeah, GP's done that though.
They're in Kering, right? GP's Kering.
Yeah.
You've done work with them before.
I've done work with them before.
Yeah. Or do they do Lamborghini? It's another one. It's
design?
No. It's a name. It's like it could be a person's name. It is a person's name.
Christopher Warren.
I'm gonna have to give you guys a hint.
Yeah, give us a hint.
Starts with an R.
It's not Richard Mille, not.
No. Oh my god, you're so close.
Oh, is it one of the
What is it?
I'm doing like a symbol, like
salute?
Something like that.
What is happening?
This is so bad. Our brains are scrambled.
Yeah, our brains are fried.
I think our brains fried.
I'll give you guys 5 seconds to guess it.
No,
I'll
give us another hint.
Give me another hint.
I gave you enough hints.
I want to get it. One more.
One more. They make it Knights of the Round Table, like Excalibur watch.
DeWitt.
Yeah. This is the Roger. I was doing this like Roger.
I was like, what? It's like Captain.
Salute. You're like. All right, good job.
Sorry, Roger DeWitt.
You guys got those.
So on that note, that's the end of our episode. Let us know what you think. What's your favorite brand from Richemont and Citizens categories. Let us know in the comments.
Comments.
Awesome. Thanks
Till
for
next
tuning
time.
in.